much. Why don't you write to the company and tell them that you're our product reviewer and they will send you a copy for free?
Oh my
And they
gosh.
did. It was unbelievable. And so I wrote that review, and then I'm like, wow, that was easy. How about Photoshop? And so I got free Photoshop, and then I got free Microsoft Office. For a year, I wrote reviews to get free software. And then after a year, the same guy, same user group guy, said, you could be making money from this. You should send the articles that you've written for us to the Mac magazines like Macworld, and maybe they'll hire you. And so I did, and they did, and I wrote for Macworld for 13 years, and then I went from there to the New York Times for 13 years, and here I am at MacNexus.
That's amazing.
And
So I need to quit Keynote and bring it back up because it's
can you
not.
tell I'm stalling for Ken? Uh,
Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see here.
it's funny because I'm on a book tour right now and winding it down, but at a couple of the stops, some old friends, and I mean old friends from NYMUG have have come to these book signings. It's been amazing. It's like, dude, I haven't seen you in 30 years. Um, I was thinking that, if I'm here to promote this book, so why not see if I can speak to user groups, and I didn't know how many of them are still around. And I sent an email to the guy who runs the Portland Mac user group, and by pure coincidence, that night was the summit meeting of the heads of all the existing user groups, Apple user
Oh my
groups.
gosh.
Were you there, Ken? Is that how I found you?
I'm sorry.
Is that how I found you at that
No, no,
summit?
you emailed our app, the MacNexus Apple user group, and Bob White, who's on here, who's been in the club forever, uh, forwarded it to me, and then I followed up with you, and I thought it was great. But yeah, I think it was either off of our website or maybe through the old user directory because we started in October. I wasn't around then, but we started in October of 84. So it was mere months after the Mac
Man.
happened. And at one time we were up to what, Bob, 1,200 members?
Yeah, just a tick above. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Wow.
also back then they were an ISP because in the early days it was hard to get Macs on the internet. And the other big thing with the ISPs was to do that. So
And like my friend in Portland, I've been I've done the membership for almost 3 decades.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well,
yeah.
thanks for sticking with it, Bob.
Hey,
You
you
know,
guys, while we're getting ready for David to start, and we're going to do it, and I'll go through the keynote later, but go ahead and grab your phone. We'll also provide a link to this in the chat. But this is, and I took the link off of your website for this. So this is the book. We are giving away over the next 2 meetings, we're giving away 10 of the books as raffle prizes,
Ooh.
and that'll be that's the hardcover coffee table book. And let me look here because there's also another slide that I was going to show later,
that
but
means your odds are 1 in 4, you guys. Nice
yeah,
job.
it's pretty good. So otherwise, and I'll provide this link too in the chat afterwards, our link master Al is not here today, but he's got some other stuff. But
I'm here though. The wife is here.
yeah,
Mary's
Al's
here.
out of town and Mary's there. So hi, Mary.
Woo!
Mary gets to get in the drawing too. Al said he already had the book. So anyway,
Yes.
we'll go through the logistics of that. But I am going to, and David, did you want to share your screen? Is that best for you?
Yeah, I will be happy to
Okay,
do that.
one sec.
I was just going to say before we stop talking about user groups, I did make a visit last week to the largest user group in the country. Anyone want to guess? 950 paid members. Can anyone guess?
The Villages.
It's the Villages.
Well,
You're
we've got
right.
them beat. So when you present to us next month, we have 1,400 members.
What?
Yes. in the other Apple user group, the one you're going to come to June 9th or something it
Oh,
is.
well, I retract the statement that I
Yeah,
couldn't
no,
imagine
and
there be.
and we counted as a household. Helen, what is it? It's about eight or 900 households, but the household gets however many users there are in the household.
Wait,
So
so if this is MacNexus, which one are you
that
talking
one's
about?
called the Lincoln Hills Apple User Group.
They're bigger than
Yeah,
Yeah,
this?
we're
we're
an active adult community. This one, we used to be at 1,200. We're just a bit over 200, and it's interesting because this is really like this group here is more Macs, and I call this our 12-step program for Apple products, but it's more of the hardcore, but the numbers have been dropping because you just can't attract new talent. But out here, we get new retirees all the time, and we have one guy he'll be at the meeting, and his badge number at Apple was in the 100s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he just retired recently. He was the one that facilitated all of any keynote that Steve Jobs gave.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, pretty cool. But we have a lot of Silicon Valley refugees up here. So
All right, well, let me see if this works. Are you able to
yeah,
see this?
yeah,
All right.
perfect.
I have had trouble advancing slides. So if the slides stop advancing, someone yell.
Okay, and I'm going to
So,
spotlight you. Perfect.
all right. Thank you.
So actually I have a real quick intro for David. So hang on one second here and
Oh, shall I
I'll
back out
read
again?
it because you don't need to read it, and then we'll go back over it when we switch to it. He's a David Pogue, a 7-time Emmy winner for his stories on CBS Sunday Morning, a 5-time TED speaker, and I understand you can't use notes when you do that, which his mind works so fast it wouldn't matter. 20 Nova specials on PBS, and a New York Times bestselling author, and again, another one with this new book. He's written about Apple for his entire career, including 13 years as a Macworld columnist. And gosh, I remember Macworld was such a treat when it was mailed out. 13 more as a tech columnist for the New York Times, and 20 years as the #1 best-selling author of books about Macs and iPhones. He lives with his family in New York, and we're very, very happy to have him for the second time at MacNexus. And you did the Dummies books too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
In fact,
Boy,
this
we know
year,
all of those.
this year was quite a year for me because I did this book, of course, but I also had to do this book in the same year, 2025. It just about killed me. I had
Wow.
two books to get out. But anyway, yeah, I did 7 of the Dummies books.
You guys give me a thumbs up if the volume is okay from David. Good. Okay, good. Perfect.
All right.
We're so happy. We're so proud to be here, and we'll talk about the book stuff at the end. And when you're done, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to try a crazy experiment here. I'm going to try as you may know, I have a side hobby where I sing song parodies about Apple, and I'm going to try to do a couple of them over Zoom. I don't know how well this will work, but
Well, that'd be
it,
great because I do have your other one, but I was afraid to play it because YouTube and their copyright strikes.
oh,
But no, go for it.
all
It's your
right.
own song.
So let me share this puppy. So this is the book. It's called Apple: The First 50 Years. As you have heard, it is in fact a New York Times bestseller. So this is the week number 5 on that list, and I mean, I don't feel bad about being number 6 when I look at what the first 5 are. All 5 of them are hot celebrity memoirs. So if you take those away, and if you take away especially the ones with the titillating titles like Getting Naked and Stripped Down, in that case, I would be number 1. So,
I love it.
and I did learn something from this experience, right? The book is called Apple: The First 50 Years, But those titles, man, the titles make a difference on the bestseller list. I should have called it Apple the First Sexy Years. That would have been a much better idea. Anyway, I'll tell you how this book came about. 2 years ago, oh, sorry, not ready for that yet. 2 years ago, I was invited to MC an event at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View, and they invited back all the hold on, let me just make sure I'm showing the right slides. Nobody pay attention to what I'm doing right now. Yeah, okay. And it was such a night of emotion and humor and PTSD that my wife had the idea, you should do a book about Apple's first 50 years. So the book came out, and the cool thing was not just the New York Times list, but the fact that it became a social media thing to do, to take a picture of your copy of the book as it arrived and post it. It was the most incredible experience to see that. It just reminds me that, Apple people are a tribe. We believe. Some of them are so funny. This guy's from New Zealand, and his book got lost in transit. So he had AI make pictures of what he thought the book might be doing instead of getting to his house. All New Zealand things like bungee jumping and going to the set of The Hobbit and, eating kiwis. There's one guy in Pennsylvania who has a Mac museum, very beautiful, and he bought 3 copies. He bought one copy so that he could put it on the shelf and you'd see the cover, another copy so that you could see the back cover, and a third copy in ebook form so he could actually read the book. So really touching and meaningful. So this was that event in 2024. And there's Bill Atkinson and Steve Capps and Andy Hertzfeld, Bruce Horn, and on the right is Susan Kerr, who drew those original Mac icons like the bomb and the smiling Mac and all the fonts, 1 pixel at a time. And so, it was about 2 weeks later that my wife, Nikki, that's Nikki, woke me in the middle of the night having had a dream that I'd written this book about Apple's 50 years. And I literally shut her down. I'm like, dude, you missed it. That date's gone by. And she said, oh, sorry. And we went back to sleep. But in the morning, I looked it up, and she was right. It was the 50th was 2 years away, which is just enough time to write a 600-page book, if you're crazy. And there's no photograph of that moment when she woke me up. So I had AI take a stab at it. I look like I've had a heart attack or something. The quality of this photo is how come I know AI will never take us over. It's just not very good. Anyway, thus began 2 years of interviewing 150 people. There's Woz, there's the co-founder, there's Johnny Ive, the designer, John Scully, who was the CEO for 10 years. There's Bill Atkinson. We'll get to him in a minute. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I interviewed the future CEO of Apple. If you look 2 squares down from that colored arrow, you'll see John Turnus in the middle of the 3 of us there. Interviewed him without ever knowing that he was going to be the next CEO. The book is in color, which is very important to me because, you're not going to do a book about the iMac and the iPhone and print it in black and white, right? So the publisher made explicitly clear that color is very expensive to do. So anyway, I'm glad I won that one. And it was cool. I got in touch with all the people who used to work there, including this guy, Robert Bruner. He was the head of the design studio before Johnny Ive. In fact, he always likes to say on his gravestone, it's going to say, here lies the man who hired Johnny Ive. But anyway, he had all these cool designs and models that he had on photo CDs in his closet somewhere, and he shipped them to me across the country to put into the book. Such a cool guy. Anyway, so Apple, big company, 2.5 billion people are carrying around Apple products right now. That's 31% of every man, woman, and child. They are selling 220 million iPhones a year, which brings in $1 million every 90 seconds. So next time you guys are feeling overpaid, just remember that. Um, they were the first company in history to attain a market capitalization, that is the total value of all its stock, of $1 trillion, and then 2 trillion, and then 3 trillion, and they're now worth $4 trillion. It's a big company. If you want a quick mnemonic for Apple's history, you're looking at it. It's a rise, a fall, and a rise again, which makes it a great plot for a book. It's like a really great turnaround story, probably the greatest corporate turnaround in history. I kind of fudged this drawing a little bit. It's more like this. So now I'll tell you the story of Apple the first 50 years, starting from the left. That's the Apple I, the Apple II, the Mac. Steve Jobs leaves, the PowerBook, the Newton. Steve Jobs returns, the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone. Tim Cook takes over, the watch, the AirPods, the Vision Pro, the services, and then Tim Cook is out. There we go. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. No, let's do that a little slower. You have to remember that in 1976, computers were not something that individuals owned, right? It was something you had in corporations and governments, but Woz, this painfully shy prodigy circuitry nerd, wanted a computer of his own, so he built one, completely self-taught. It was this circuit board that we now call the Apple I. It was only a circuit board. There's no case or anything that these guys came up with. And he had this buddy, Steve Jobs, 4 years younger, went to the same high school, but they didn't overlap, who took a look at that thing and said, "Hey, Woz, we could sell that thing." This is going to become a running theme in this story. And so they did. They sold about 150 of them. They eventually commissioned a local carpenter and his son, the Pfisters, to make a case as an add-on. It was $300, very expensive. And today, there are so few Apple I cases remaining that one sold last year for $400,000 at auction. And what's really hilarious is you will notice that in the highlighting there, it is said by the auctioneer to be made of rare Hawaiian koa wood. This is one of the many myths of Apple that I have blown up in my book, because this was not koa wood. It never was. I don't know where that rumor came from, but the auctioneer was wrong, and the poor guy who spent $400,000 for it, he thinks he's got koa wood, but it's not. It is walnut. And the reason I know this is because you're looking at the guy who made it. This is Chaz Pfister, who came to one of my book signing talks at a bookstore, and he brought one with him, and he just laughed so hard. I interviewed him for the book, and he said, no, it's walnut. It's a beautiful wood if you polish it up right. I don't know where that came from, but don't tell the guy who paid almost $500,000. So that one sold about 150 units. Then came the Apple II. This was the first personal computer. They sold 6 million of these over 10 years. It was the very first personal computer that came ready to use, self-contained. Take it out of the box, plug in a TV, and you've got yourself a working computer. And Jobs noticed that whenever someone went to a computer store to buy the Apple II, first of all, in the olden days, they didn't have a floppy drive. You had to store your data on a cassette tape. But once they did have a floppy drive, another masterful Woz device, Jobs became aware that everyone who had a small business would buy the Apple II and the floppy drive and a card that would let you do uppercase and lowercase letters, and a copy of VisiCalc, which was the first spreadsheet program in the world. It ran only on the Apple II, and that is very much the precursor of Microsoft Excel. So Jobs said, why don't we build all that stuff in? We'll call it the Apple III. And there is a reason you've never heard of the Apple III or never used one, because it crashed and burned. It was not a hit. And a big reason for that, you'll notice that this computer has no vents. And that is because Steve Jobs, till his dying day, hated fans. He did not want a fan in his machines because it was loud, and it meant you had to have vents on the side, which was ugly. So he insisted that this thing be self-contained with no airflow. And it got really hot in there. You'd put your 5¼ inch floppy disk in that slot there, and sometimes when you pulled it out, it would be melted. I went to the Stanford archives and found a report by a consultancy that tried to figure out why these things were crashing all the time. And it's because the heat was 220 degrees inside. And the memory card, the memory board in the Apple III was held up on 4 little posts, aluminum posts. And as the heat got intense, the posts expanded and pushed the memory card board up, which exposed some parts of the post to oxidation, which meant it lost the connection and the computer would shut down. So this is absolutely true, ladies and gentlemen. Apple issued a service bulletin to all owners of the Apple III. If your computer keeps shutting down spontaneously, try lifting it 4 inches off the desk and dropping it. This was an actual piece of advice, because what that would do is it would reseat the memory board on those 4 pegs and it would turn on again. But the Apple III never recovered. So strike one for Steve Jobs. The Apple III and strike two, which was the Lisa computer, were both intended to run a command line interface like this. You had to memorize the commands. This is how computers were in those days. But midway through the design of the Lisa, Steve Jobs got invited to visit this famous Xerox PARC, the Palo Alto Research Center, where they were working on next generation computer ideas like laser printing and Ethernet, and the graphic user interface. Black type on a white screen, graphics, fonts, a mouse, windows, overlapping windows. Now, the trope is that Jobs saw all this and stole it and took it back to Apple, and that's where the Mac came from. There's a lot of things wrong with that trope. One of which was this was not finished. This was very early. For example, look, there's no menu bar anywhere. The way you open a menu is you have to right click. They only had shortcut menus. There was also no desktop, no icons, no folders, no trash. There was no copy and paste between programs. So it was very early. But Jobs was so inspired, and he told Bill Atkinson, who was his star programmer on the Lisa, dude, you got to recreate all this stuff and finish it and make it great. And we're going to revise what we had planned for the Lisa, and you're going to do it. So Atkinson did, and this is the graphic interface that debuted on the Lisa with very few modifications. That's what we got on the Mac, and that's what everybody knows now as how computers work. But it was Bill Atkinson who came up with most of this stuff. And one of my favorite stories, I interviewed Atkinson not knowing that he had pancreatic cancer at the time. He didn't know either. Pancreatic cancer, as you may know, takes you very quickly. So he was gone within a matter of months. It makes me very glad that I did the book when I did, because 4 people either died or became unable to speak between the interviews and the book's publication. Anyway, after I interviewed Bill, he called me at home and he said, there's one more story I got to tell you. It has to do with overlapping windows. One of the hardest things to do was this effect that you see here. See this, the window with the rows in it? He's like, if you move that window aside, what I'd seen at Xerox PARC is you immediately saw what was underneath the window behind it. But there was so little memory and so little power that when I did it, it just left a blank rectangle, and a flickering one at that. And I could not figure out how Xerox had done it. And it took me weeks. And finally, I came up with this technical hack where he basically stores a screenshot of the overlapping area and stores it in a memory buffer, the whole thing. He got it to work, and Jobs was like, way to go, Bill, you did it. So a few weeks after that, Bill Atkinson was at a nudist camp, as he often did. And he was in the hot tub. And along comes this other guy, gets into the tub naked, and says, oh my God, you're Bill Atkinson from Apple. I'm Bill Muty from Xerox PARC. And they introduced each other. And this guy says, you're the guy they say solved the overlapping window problem. And Atkinson says, what do you mean? I saw that at your place. I saw you guys do it. And the other guy says, no, you didn't. We never solved that. We still haven't solved that. You solved that. You must have misremembered it. And that is what had happened. Bill Atkinson only thought he saw that at Xerox. And he summed it up with me. He said, you know, David, just goes to show you, when someone tells you something is impossible, you just haven't thought about it enough. Um, anyway, amazing story. This was the Lisa. It was incredibly ahead of its time. It had multitasking. It had memory protection. So if one app crashed, it wouldn't bring the rest of them down. It had autosave. I mean, you could yank out the power plug and you would lose nothing. And it had the graphic interface. But, oh, and it had a megabyte of memory, which was so much memory. It did, however, cost $10,000, which would today would be 38 grand. So not a bestseller. And you may have heard this, but Apple wound up having to get rid of the unsold Lisas by burying them in a New Mexico landfill, because for tax purposes, it was cheaper to do that than to give them away. So really sad. A couple of years ago, this guy went up on Kickstarter and tried to raise money for an unearthing of the Lisas. He wanted to raise 400 grand. He was going to do a live television special where they were going to dig up all the Lisas that had been buried there. And it didn't quite make the goal. They got 85 bucks. They had one backer. Anyway, so Jobs was thinking, all right, that was way too expensive. What if we could do it in a smaller computer for $1,000? That was what the Macintosh was supposed to be. It wound up costing 2,500 bucks because costs kept going up, but it had 1/8 as much memory as the Lisa. It had 128K of memory, which was barely enough to open one program at a time. I mean, it had so little memory. The longest document you could write in Microsoft Write, in Mac Write, was 10 pages long. At the same time, it was charming, it was beautiful, it was easy to use. But for Jobs, it was strike three. It was the third failed computer he'd done at Apple. And so he had hired, one thing I should mention about the Mac. This was when Jobs the perfectionist was born. He would slave over the curvature of the bezel and the shading of the drop shadows and the angle of the bevels, the whole thing, even the packaging, which people thought was crazy. Like, people are just going to throw those boxes away, Steve. Why do we care? Well, as you all know, people don't throw their Apple boxes away. They're just too beautiful. So Jobs had hired the CEO, John Scully, a Pepsi president, to be the CEO. But the two of them, by 1985, they were fighting each other. They were arguing about whose fault the Mac was. And finally, there was a big board showdown, and Steve Jobs was out. He was demoted and exiled, and he quit Apple, and he was gone for 11 years. Now, most people usually kind of skip those 11 years, thinking, it's not interesting, and Apple began a slow decline. I think it's fascinating, and there's a lot that went on during those 11 years. Apple did QuickTime, which is the basis of every streaming television show you've ever seen. They came up with speech recognition. And I got to tell you about the laptops, man. Laptops in 1990 looked like this. They were designed to be comforting to people who were used to typewriters. So they had the keyboard way up close to the front edge, because that's how typewriters did it. But what that meant is there was nowhere for the pointing device to go unless you hung it off the side. So, I mean, all it took was one flight attendant coming down with her cart, and bam, your trackball is gone. So Apple had come up with the Mac Portable, which was 16 pounds. It really wasn't portable, and it used this design. But there was this guy named John Krakauer who worked at Apple, not as a designer. This is important. He was not a designer. He was a systems integrator. It was his job to figure out how all the interior components talk to each other. But it really bugged him that the Portable had failed yet another bomb. And he thought maybe we should rethink the layout of the laptop. And he built this model after hours, totally illegally, not his job. But the idea was he pushed the keyboard back against the screen. That did three things immediately. First of all, it gave you palm rests, much more comfortable for typing on your knees or anywhere. It made room for the trackball where your thumbs could reach it without taking your hands off the keys. And internally, the heaviest components used to be back by the hinge, the battery and the hard drive. Now those could be under the palm rests, which meant that the thing would be less likely to flop off the back of your knees. So everybody at Apple, he finally showed it to his superiors, and they all thought it looked very strange. That's not how laptops look. But our friend Robert Brunner, the design head, he loved it. He said, this makes so much sense. We're going to do our next laptop using your design. And that was the PowerBook. It was a huge success. They sold $1 billion worth of PowerBooks in the first year. And no laptop has ever been made using any layout but this one by any company since. So in the meantime, Jobs started Next. He started Pixar, and he started a family. And then in 1997, he returned when Apple bought Next. And what he found was a disaster. Apple had fallen into fiefdoms and duplication and backstabbing. They had 50 Mac models for sale. They had 12 ad agencies, all with competing messages. My favorite story from this era is the time two Apple lawyers showed up in trademark court to sue each other. It was a disaster. So Gil Amelio was the third of three CEOs they'd had in 5 years. He brought Jobs back along with the 300 great engineers from Next. And Jobs, in a single year, he fired the entire board. He fired all 12 ad agencies, and he shut down all 50 Macs and the Newton and the Advanced Technology Group. And he said, we're going to do 4 products, 2 laptops, 2 desktops. That's it. Now, this was not a popular decision. Remember, Jobs had nothing but failures, right? The Apple III, the Lisa, the Macintosh, the Next computer, they were all failures. What made anyone think that Jobs was going to be this savior of Apple, especially now that he was cutting their beloved 50 different Mac models that engineers were working on? So a lot of people left, and he fired a lot of people, but he said, you've got to stick with me if we're going to save this company. And he met, and in place of all those 12 ad agencies, they settled on one single commercial. And of course, it's the famous, here's the crazy ones.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
It was an ad made not just for the public, but also for the people who were still at Apple. It was, I mean, it doesn't mention computers, it doesn't show a computer, but what it said was that Apple still stands for something. It still has a soul. So he met Johnny Ive, who was the head of the design studio at this point, very young guy, 27 years old, British guy, who was on the verge of quitting. Because you have to understand, in those days, the way a computer was designed is the electrical engineers would decide what the components are, and they'd kind of put it in a box, and then they would send it to the design department and say, wrap a skin around this thing. But Ive had designed all these foam models of really cool futuristic computers there in his lab that no one was interested in. But Jobs was very interested in. They were like brothers, these two. They had lunch together every day. Their wives and they socialized after hours. Jobs would go visit the design studio almost every day. And the first results of their collaboration was the iMac. And we have to talk about Jobs' ability to see the future. Just uncanny the way he knew how things would shake down. Guy never finished college, never had a business degree. He was not an engineer, but he knew what would work in so many ways. Like if you were going to bet your company, excuse me, if you were going to bet your company on one new machine, would you sneeze? No. Would you change everything all at once? It wasn't a rectangle. It wasn't beige. It wasn't opaque. It didn't have a floppy drive. It didn't have a printer port. Excuse me. Wow, dusty in here. It didn't have the standard printer or mouse ports. Instead, it had a brand new port no one had ever heard of before called USB. And everybody internally said, Jobs, you're changing too many variables all at once. This is not going to fly. But it did. They sold 150,000 of these things before they were even available, and they went on to sell 5 million iMacs in the first 3 years, the best-selling computer in history. It saved Apple. Apple became profitable again from having been 6 weeks from bankruptcy. Now Apple was making a profit after 1 year. So the iPod came next, of course, revolutionized music. And John Rubinstein, the head of hardware, was really nervous that Sony or another company was going to come from behind and compete with them. So he decided that Apple would do a new iPod every single year. And here's another example of how Jobs could see the future. This was the iPod mini. This was the hit of all hits. This was the best-selling product Apple had ever had. They were selling tens of millions of them. And just as its popularity was reaching its peak, Jobs said, we're canceling it. We're canceling the iPod mini because I have an idea. We're going to do a new model that is smaller but holds less music. And of course, everybody said, Jobs, that is absolutely insane. The mini is what everybody wants. But he insisted. He was the greatest presenter who ever lived. This is how he unveiled the Nano.
Now, this pocket's been the one that your iPod's gone in, traditionally. The iPod and the iPod mini fit great in there. You ever wonder what this pocket's for? I've always wondered that. Well, now we know, because this is the new iPod Nano.
And wouldn't you know it, he was right again. This thing took Apple into the hundreds of millions territory. This outsold the mini by a huge margin. So then came the iPhone, and I guess you know that that is really what changed everything. And I'm gonna stop sharing for a second because it's time for our first song. Woohoo!
All right.
I hope you can hear this. Can you hear the piano? Oops. Me neither.
Still can't. There we go.
Can you hear that? Okay. So when the iPhone was about to come out, they lined up in New York City around the block, as you may recall, to be the first to get it. And so I wrote this song parody, and I went to New York City with a camcorder, and I got people in line to sing parts of this song. And I made a music video of it. And ladies and gentlemen, for 6 hours, this was the #1 most watched YouTube video. So, okay. And now the end is near. I'm sick to death of this old cell phone. Bad sound, the signal's weak, the software stinks. A made in hell phone. I've heard there's something new 1,000,000 times more rad than my phone. I too will join the cult. I want an iPhone. Concerns, I have a few. It's got some flaws, we may just face it. No keys, no memory card, the battery's sealed, you can't replace it. But God, this thing is sweet. A multi-touch iPod Wi-Fi phone. You had me from hello. I want an iPhone. I want to touch its precious screen. I want to wipe the smudges clean. I want my friends to look and drool. I want to say, look now I'm cool. I'll stand in line and I'll get mine. I'll get an iPhone. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, iPhone, then he's got squat. It's all the things a phone should be. Who cares if it's AT&T? I took a stand and paid $1,000 and got an iPhone.
Oh,
Let's see Jason Snell do that.
yeah. That's hilarious.
Thank you.
And it's so true.
So true. All right, getting back to my slides. So you may remember that when the iPhone came out, there was no app store. There was you got 16 apps and you liked it. So, oh, sorry, I forgot one other key point. They announced the iPhone 6 months before they shipped it in 2007. And the original iPhone that you see here had a plastic screen. But at the end of the Macworld Expo demo, Jobs looked at the demo unit and it had scratches on it from his keys in his pocket. And so he announced to his team, we have 6 months, we're going to swap in glass instead of plastic. And everybody immediately lost their minds. Like, Jobs, no! We tested glass, don't you remember? It shattered from a drop of 8 inches. What are you doing? He said, nope, we can't have scratches on this plastic. We're going with glass. And he set up an appointment with this guy, Wendell Weeks, the CEO of Corning, which is an industrial glass maker. And he said, you got to help us. We have 6 months to replace these millions of iPhone screens with glass. What do you got that can withstand drops from 3 feet? And the answer was nothing. And Jobs said, I can't believe it with all your technology and know-how. And Wendell Weeks said, well, I mean, there was this thing we had back in the 50s, and we made it for racing car windshields. It was very scratch and shatter resistant, but I mean, we haven't made that in decades. And Jobs said, okay, tell you what you're going to do. You're going to dig up that formula, and you're going to start a factory, and you're going to make millions of those for us in time for shipping. And you may have heard of Jobs' reality distortion field. This was it, turned to 11. He persuaded the CEO of Corning to do that. He started up an old factory in Kentucky, and they called it Gorilla Glass, and they had it out in time for the iPhone. An unbelievable story. But there was no app store. So for the first year or so, the iPhone did not actually sell very well. I don't know if you remember this. People tried to write apps, and they would have to hack the phone to get it on there illegally. Jailbreaking, they called it. And so Jobs got really upset about the jailbreaking because, as you know, he had a thing about closed systems, right? He did not like opening things up to the public. So Scott Forstall was his head of software. And he said, tell you what, Scott, here's what we're going to do. You and I are going to sit down this weekend, and we're going to make a list of every app there could possibly be. And then I'm going to give you a blank check, and you're going to hire as many programmers as it takes to write all the apps. They're all going to be Apple apps. So Forstall, who immediately knew this was a terrible idea that would never work, went back to his team and said, guys, start writing an app store because sooner or later we're going to have one. And sure enough, a year later, they announced the App Store, and that is when the iPhone really took off. So Jobs died in 2011, and he chose, of all people, Tim Cook, who was kind of the anti-Jobs, a guy who's quiet and introverted and level-headed and steady, and not a product guy. Not an idea guy at all. He was a nuts and bolts logistics guy, and an outstanding one. So under Cook, of course, we've had the Apple Watch, and we've had the Vision Pro, which did not do well. And they also spent 10 years working on the Apple Car, which very few people know about. 10 years and $10 billion they spent on this thing. It was going to be a fully self-driving, fully electric car, super luxury. This is not an actual photo because no photo exists, but this is roughly what it was going to look like. No steering wheel, no pedals. The 4 easy chairs inside faced each other, so you could recline. The world's best sound system. They were experimenting with augmented reality windows, so you could look out the window and it would identify the restaurant out there and so on. But despite hiring thousands of engineers from Tesla and BMW and Mercedes and Ford, they never quite got the self-driving to work perfectly. So by 2024, they canceled the car. Tim Cook does not get enough credit, though, for what he did do, which is turning Apple into a medical company. It started out with this, atrial fibrillation, which is one of the most common heart ailments. It's when your heart, instead of pumping, it just kind of quivers. And you can get tested for it at a doctor's office, but it's an intermittent problem. So if it's not happening right then, they won't catch it. But the watch is on you all day long. So it can tell when you're having this problem and alert you. And my God, has this saved lives. I mean, Apple gets a dozen letters a week from people whose lives have been saved just by that feature. Since then, they've added so many other things. Early Parkinson's detection from your gaits, hypertension, high blood pressure, sleep apnea. This one where it says 2 outliers. I love this one. You probably aren't even really aware of it, but it tracks, you have this if you have an Apple Watch. It tracks 5 symptoms, 5 metrics of you while you're asleep. Your heart rate, your breathing rate, your skin temperature, your blood oxygen level. And by the way, how does a watch on the exterior of your body know your blood oxygen level? It's amazing. And your stages of sleep. And if 2 or more of those were out of whack last night, in the morning, it displays this notice, and it's basically warning you that, either you're getting sick, you're about to be sick, or you were really drunk last night. And then I have it on good authority that they are now working on snoring detection. Why not? It has a microphone, right? It has a vibration mode, so it could presumably shake you into a lighter level of sleep and stop your snoring, which would be welcome for many of our partners. And then, the AirPods, they've turned that into a $160 clinical grade hearing aid in an era where real hearing aids cost an average of $5,000. That's why 80% of Americans who need hearing aids don't have them. So, and they've just added a heart rate sensor to the AirPods too, so it can track your heart rate from your ear. And they're also working on blood glucose detection, insulin levels. So if you're a diabetic, you won't have to stick yourself. That will be pretty amazing. So a lot of people ask, so what's next? What's going to come for the next 50 years? We don't know long term. They don't know long term. But in the short term, we know that this fall, you have this to look forward to, the iPhone Fold. It folds out into basically an iPad mini. It will be very expensive, $2,000 at least. But Apple is said to be the first company to eliminate the crease down the middle when it's unfolded. And I bet it will be spectacular. They are also working on the smart glasses. The ones you're seeing here are from Meta and Google. The first ones will not have a screen. They just have, microphones, speakers, battery, and so on. But the subsequent model will have a little screen for graphics and maps and so on. The whole idea is not everybody at Apple loves that they launched the thing that buries our faces in screens all day long. So things like these watches, things like these watches, these AirPods, and these glasses do not require our faces to be in our screens all day long. One of the things I was most interested in doing with this book was tracking the through lines. Are there any policies or cultural things that have lasted all 50 years? And there really are. When you open the book, you find yourself on this 2-page spread. I wanted to get you excited, like Lord of the Rings, but what it tells you is that Apple has not moved more than 2 miles in 50 years. It is a very Cupertino company. It has also not changed its mission in 50 years. Remember, Woz he built the Apple I to take a complex, difficult technology and make it personal and joyous to use. And that is still what Apple's mission is today. That's still what they're doing. Another through line is focus. Jobs used to say, I'll say no to 1,000 features before I say yes to one. And to this day, Apple actually doesn't make very much stuff. You could put one of everything they make and it would fit on a boardroom table. I mean, you couldn't do that with Samsung or Sony. Secrecy is another big through line, as you probably know. They do not like to reveal the existence of a new product until it is actually ready to ship. And that's for 2 reasons, really. One is that way competitors can't catch up. And second, if the product doesn't see the light of day, then there's no embarrassment when Apple cancels it. See also the Apple Car. Rounded rectangles are another Apple through line. All 50 years of Apple products have had rounded rectangles. The watch, the phone, that cleaning cloth there, your keys on your keyboard, the trackpad, the laptop itself, the monitors, even your chargers. They're all little rounded rectangles. It was a Steve Jobs fetish. And beauty. I mean, Apple creates really beautiful stuff. It was Steve Jobs, the man in all of history, who decided that computers did not have to be industrial metal boxes, that it could be beautiful and it would be more pleasant to use if it were. And that goes also for the interior. So this is the watch, the laptop, and the Power Mac. I mean, even the guts of these things are quite beautiful. And, early on, people made fun of Jobs for that. Like, that's ridiculous. Nobody cares what the insides look like. No one's going to see it. But when I interviewed Johnny Ive, he told me the rationale, which is you can sense care even if you can't see care. In other words, if everybody sweats over every detail from the inside out, then by the time you get the product in your hands, you will sense how much effort they put into it. And now I have one more thing for you, ladies and gentlemen. I have one more song parody for you. This one is brand new, written just for the book tour, and with great apologies to Pharrell. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Apple at 50, almost to the day. Are you a real fan? How do you know? There are certain clues, baby, here we go.
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you feel machines should be made with hearts.
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you feel like aluminum is art.
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you plug in 12 gadgets every night.
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you're proud that your chargers all are white. Now here come bad news so you understand. It's not always easy being such a fan. Wintel is everywhere, it's super cheap. But who wants to be a corporate sheep?
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you've never thrown away a box.
Because it's Apple.
Got a special closet just for dongles, cords, and docks.
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you bought that stand for $1,000.
Because it's Apple.
Clap along if you feel that Siri still kinda sucks. I don't feel down when they raise the price. I don't feel down using puppy mice. I don't feel down because AI is late, or when an AirPod falls down a grate. I don't feel down updating nonstop. I don't feel down when I can't airdrop. I don't feel down that I've got a notch and a half-day charge on my Apple Watch. Clap along if you dumb friends whose texts show up in green. Clap along if you spent $19 to wipe your screen. Clap along if you're in line when a new phone rolls around. Clap along if your cordless mouse charges upside down. Clap along if it's better to be best than to be first. Clap along if you know that Windows is the worst. Clap along if rounded corners always make you high. Clap along if you will bleed 6 colors till you die.
Oh,
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Just for you, song parodies across the continent. Thank you.
That
Oh,
was-
look at that. That's so nice of you. Ah,
that was awesome.
you
And
could-
that's a new song for you because yeah, I have the old one. So
Yeah.
God, you're so talented.
Thank you. Well, that was super fun. Oh, I have one more. I forgot. I have one more thing to share, and that is this screen. I'm happy to answer questions now or in the future. And there is my email address, and I'm giving it to you because I have a special offer for you guys. If you wind up buying the book, email me your receipt at this address, and I will autograph for you a book plate. It's a glorified sticker, and it looks like this. And I'll mail it to you, and then you can stick it into your copy of the book, just like I was there to sign it. And also, I was showing you that I'm writing a new column now for the first time in 12 years. It's free. There's no ads. It's a Substack column, so just go to substack.com and look me up. I think you'll really enjoy it. Anyway, happy to take any questions.
Well, first of all, thank you. That was huge. And the amount of I looked through that, the amount of research you did and the photos you got. I mean, man, and it took you pretty much 2 years to do, right?
Yeah, it just about killed me. It was
Wow.
so much work.
Just amazing.
And honestly, the pictures were practically the longest part. I mean, there's 360 pictures in this book, color pictures, and every one of them the photographer had to be contacted, hunted down, permission signed, and paid. And a lot of these guys are dead. So I mean, some of these pictures were taken in the 70s. It was not easy, but I finally pulled it off.
Well, I'm gonna get the audiobook and the hardcover. So I think that's because that's a coffee table book, and man, I'm impressed.
Oh, and Ken,
Yeah.
if you do get the audiobook, which I read myself at this very desk, I kind of had trouble believing that anyone would. It's 24 hours long, this audiobook. It's long.
Wow.
And
I drive a lot.
Oh, you're in good shape. I kind of didn't believe that anyone would really listen to 24 hours of me talking. So I put an Easter egg into the audio. So deep in there, I interrupt myself to say, and by the way, if you're still listening, I've got a special surprise for you. I'll email you some outtakes from the book if you send a note to this special email address. Anyway, I thought it'd be really fun to see who got there first and stuff like that. And sure enough, the first one who found it came in less than 24 hours, which means that
Wow.
the guy must have listened to it without sleeping at 1.5 times speed. But what I didn't realize is that message is in the audiobook forever. So
Oh, you've buried yourself.
I buried myself. I get like 30 a day now. It's just, I mean, I have a macro that responds to it, but I never really thought this through.
Oh, that's fantastic. What's your take on John Turnus?
Yeah, Turnus is very much in the mold of Tim Cook. He's a calm, quiet, steady hand. Um, not again, not a showman like Jobs, not a volatile person like Jobs. Um, but he has the advantage of being the senior vice president of hardware engineering. So he's worked on every Apple product since the iPad. Um, and that's something Tim Cook wasn't. He was not a hardware guy in terms of design and engineering. So I don't know. I think it's promising. The one thing we know about Turnus was that internally he was opposed to both the Apple Car and the Vision Pro, and he was right on both counts. So that bodes well for his judgment.
Oh, that's great. And to have a product guy, I mean, and it sounds like he's just a good guy too, is what I've read.
He is a good guy. He's
Yeah.
very nice. If you I don't know if I should say this. If you if you watch the song I just did for you on YouTube, that clap along I called it, you will see in the standalone version that I posted, my wife was sitting directly behind Greg Joswiak, global head of
Yeah.
marketing, Craig Federighi, head of software, and John Turnus. And you can see their heads as they crack up at the punchlines in the song, including the ones that kind of make fun of them. So it was so heartening to see that they have such a great sense of humor about all this.
Oh God. Mary has her hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Mary, and ask your question.
First of all, thanks. This was great. Do you see any new category of products? Like, we've had the watch and the blah blah. Anything new coming down the pike?
I mean, in the near term, it's those glasses, right? Those are probably coming out early next year. But there are other efforts to well, there's two categories of efforts. One is to again get our faces out of our screens. So that could be necklaces, that could be little badges, it could be more fancy AirPod type things. But they are also said to be experimenting with home security, doorbell stuff, as well as robotics. There was a weird report last year that they're working on a Siri robot with a screen that kind of turns and faces you as you walk through the house. Remember, a lot of stuff never sees the light of day. They experiment with all kinds of stuff. And I would say there are more Apple products you haven't heard of than the ones you have, because they routinely kill them off if they weren't everything they should be.
Well, actually, what they learned by trying to make autonomous driving with the car can apply to that robotic,
Yes, that's
just like
really
the
important.
Tesla.
Really
Yeah.
important point. The guy. So Apple obviously is not going to talk to me about the car. Oh, I don't think I mentioned this. The big worry for the book was the last 15 years, because Apple's engineers and designers are not allowed to speak to journalists unless it's set up special by Apple PR for some press purpose. So I was really worried about who's going to talk to me, what interviews can I conduct, because they're all still at Apple and they won't talk. So I harangued Apple for 6 months. I wrote a sample chapter to let them see the style. I didn't want them to have any kind of editorial control. It's not their book, it's my book. I wanted to be able to talk about the failures as well as the successes. And finally, after like 6 months, they finally said, okay, you can come out here. And they ultimately gave me 4 days of all day interviews with Tim Cook's entire executive team and engineers and designers. But they weren't going to talk about the car. So I went to LinkedIn and I hunted down the former Apple people who worked on the car. And I did manage to find one of the leaders of the project who spilled the beans and told me everything about the car project. But he concluded by saying what you just said, Ken. He said, we don't consider the car a failure because we learned so much, like thousands of patents on battery technology, robotics, software, audio technology, display technology. When they shut the project down, two-thirds of the people they'd hired went on to other departments at Apple because they were so useful with AI and robotics and other things. So yeah, it was very useful, not as a product, but as a learning experience.
That's amazing. Anybody else have any questions for David? I will share my screen here just quickly if you have a couple minutes. And so again, I'll play this at the very end. Once David's gone, we'll make sure the QR code is up there. It links to the Amazon site, and we'll have the drawing coming up in a bit. But, oh, and I hate these things. So 50 years ago, Jimmy Carter was president. I mean, just think back about some of the stuff. And then on April 1st, it was amazing. And your wife was right. It hadn't happened yet. We have a few of the old logos, which is amazing.
Did you say you're sharing your screen?
Oh, am I not sharing it?
We're not
We
seeing
still
it.
see David.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me remove the spotlight. Now
Yeah,
try
go
sharing.
ahead with that. And oh, that's right. I have to
There we
click
go.
share.
There you go.
So basically formed, and then we have the original Apple logo, and that's Isaac Newton with an apple getting ready to drop on his head.
Really?
And then through the years, then the most recent one announcing it. And this kind of encapsulates the great commercial that you played, the whole Think Different, the crazy ones. I do want to point this out. Computer History Museum until September has a few Apple prototypes down there. There's not too many, but the Computer History Museum itself is just incredible. We're lucky because it's only about 2 hours away. And I have to give huge props to David for this. He did this interview down there at the Computer History Museum, and the links will be in the chat for you guys afterwards. But this is one of the best jobs of interviewing anybody. And boy, there's some talent there. Did you enjoy doing that one?
Oh my God, highlight of my life. Yeah, we had three incredible, well, we had so many guests. What you're seeing here is Chris Espinosa, the only person who's been at Apple for all 50 years. He saw all of it. And John Scully, who's the CEO for 10 years. And then Avi Tevanian, who was the head of software under Jobs. And then by video, we had Woz and we had John Rubinstein. And then there were people in the audience that I jumped off the stage to interview, including design head Robert Brunner. And if you can believe it, Ron Wayne.
I know, that blew me away.
The fabled third founder of Apple. It is true. Ron Wayne was the third founder. The two Steves needed his help drawing up the documents to incorporate the company, and Jobs gave him 10% of Apple. So Apple was founded by three people. And then 11 days later, Ron Wayne changed his mind. He really had no stomach for being part of a crazy, wobbly startup run by these two smelly, barefoot, grizzled guys. So he took his name off the agreement, and Jobs paid him $800. So if he'd held on to it, of course,
he's the only one that had money, and he was afraid that he would be liable for things.
That's right. He was 20 years older than they were, and he was now part of a partnership that put him on the hook for the $15,000 loan they just took. But he was there that night, and so I jumped off the stage. He's 90 years old, and no one's heard from him since. So it was an amazing moment.
That's fantastic. So again, I'll link this too, but this is David's site. It's Pogue, the Apple 50 years, and you can get the book at any of these. And again, this is the Amazon link. And then we have one, that was, we already talked about, that was your intro. So if you bear with us a little bit, hardly anybody knows this, but tonight we are honoring our own Bob White, and then I'll get to the questions. But Bob has been since the 90s part of MacNexus, and so he doesn't know about this. And
MacNexus has been in existence
I'll put this
for over
together.
40 years. It owes its longevity to a long list of selfless volunteers. Tonight, we pause not merely to recognize a name, but to honor a presence that has quietly, steadfastly shaped the soul of this community. We gather in gratitude for one of our most valued members,
Celebrating
Mr.
me.
Bob White. Since the early 1990s, Bob has walked alongside MacNexus as both steward and sentinel. His service has not been confined to title or task, though he has carried many. Membership coordinator, triage volunteer, elections commissioner, MacNexus Facebook administrator, to name a few. At our board of directors meetings, he has been an ever reliable historian, the keeper of memory and meaning within these once physical but now virtual walls. Yet, what he has given transcends roles. He lives in the unseen architecture of continuity and the quiet assurance that someone was always there, tending the flame. There are those whose contributions are measured in moments, and there are those whose impact is woven into the fabric of time itself. Bob belongs to the latter. It is no exaggeration to say that MacNexus, as we know it, bears the imprint of his hands and the imprint of his heart. For decades, he has embodied the true spirit of volunteerism, not as an obligation, but as an offering. To serve for Bob has never been an act of duty alone, but an expression of character. Those who had known him, worked beside him, or simply benefited from his generosity understand this well. His selflessness was never performed, it was lived. And even now, as he steps away from his role as membership coordinator, effective January 1st, he does not step away from us. Instead, he continues forward, newly elected as director at large, still answering the quiet call to serve. That he does so even in the midst of personal health challenges, often joining meetings remotely from a hospital bed, speaks not loudly, but profoundly. It tells us that commitment, when rooted in purpose, does not yield easily to circumstance. And so tonight, we offer more than thanks. We offer recognition of a life of service that has strengthened us all. While no token can fully reflect the depth of our appreciation, the MacNexus Board of Directors is honored to present Bob with an Amazon gift card, a small, tangible gesture accompanying our enduring gratitude. Bob, your work has not simply supported this community, it's helped to define it. Well done.
Wow.
Al couldn't
Thank-
be here tonight. Mary, his wife, is here, but he put that together for us. And Bob White, you're the best, and we're happy to do that. So
No wonder he was hitting me up for old photos a couple months back.
yeah.
Yeah, he's sneaky.
Well,
I-
if
Very nice. Very
we have a
nice.
few questions still there, and it might be for David. So Georgiana, you're first, and then Barbara.
By the way, thank you.
Oh, Bob,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Okay, yes, I'll throw my 2 cents in for Bob as well. Mr. Pogue, do you know anything about the history of the 1984 ad?
Yeah, I know a lot about it. Wait, I'm gonna pin you so I can see what you're holding up there.
I ended up getting, well,
Oh yeah.
I have several old Mac things. I worked at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory
Oh wow.
for my career, and we interacted a lot with Xerox PARC, the user group that sometimes met at Stanford, Wozniak, etc. So, but I love the commercial. I was given a button, so this is old stuff.
And I very much like your decor behind your over your shoulder there. You have a
Yeah, nice
fancy-
book.
Nice book.
Yeah. Nice book. Yes, it does. Well, this is my Apple corner. And oh, Stanford,
Wow, one of the seat cushions at the Super Bowl.
the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Oh my
1985.
That's worth something now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay. All
If you
right.
get
Thank you.
desperate, put it up on eBay.
But anyway, who was the ad person who thought of this?
So that's a great story. His name is Steve Hayden, and he had written that ad 2 years earlier, not for Apple. He thought it would be a really cool concept, and he shopped it around to Nike and Pepsi and Atari, all these other companies, and it was too radical for them. So
Oh,
nobody would take, and he even brought it by Apple to see if they wanted to use it as an Apple II commercial, and everybody turned it down because it was too out there. And so then when Jobs came along in 1983 wanting a commercial for the Mac, they're like, well, we do have this old thing. And Jobs loved it. He's like, I want something radical for this.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's hilarious is that it was not written for the Macintosh, but
Oh,
it
for
wound up
heaven's
being.
sakes. Huh. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a great commercial.
It
Thank
was.
you. Barbara, go right ahead.
Hi, first of all, thank you for taking your time and doing this. It's been really fun. What I want to know is, what do you think about the biography that Walter Isaacson did? Do you think it's a pretty accurate and pretty good story about Steve Jobs, that biography, or what are your thoughts?
Well, pretty accurate and pretty good are two different things. I, it's an amazing piece of research, and he interviewed so many people. There are quite a number of factual problems with the book, and I mean it's hard. It's hard. I've just been through it. I mean there are people who have different memories of the same event, and also Jobs died as Walter Isaacson was writing the book, so he was under a lot of pressure to get it done from the publisher. So you can't really blame him too much. But one thing that virtually every person I interviewed said, with their eyes pleading, they were like, please get it right. Please get this story right. They kind of saw this as, especially the older people, who were around in the 70s and 80s, they sort of saw it as their last chance to get the story straightened out, to get the story told correctly. And I feel for them. So I tried really, really hard. I don't know if any of you know about my beta reading program, but when the book was done, after it had been copy edited and proofread and indexed and fact checked and technical edited, I went on Facebook and I said, I am looking for beta readers. I want each of you to volunteer to read one chapter, and you're going to be responsible for every typo and every fact in that chapter. You're the last barrier between me and humiliation. And 300 people volunteered. And so I wound up sending out these chapters. Every chapter in the book got read at least 3 times. And a lot of these people were at Apple or had been at Apple or worked with Apple. So I had this army of fact checkers and proofreaders. So I'm pleased to say there were a couple little things when the book came out, but very, very few for a 600-page book.
That's quite a process.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you.
Awesome. Elaine, you're next.
Yeah, David, is your book tour international? Are you traveling all over the country, and is there, the demand for you in other
I've done a
countries?
few virtual things internationally. There was one in France and one in Taiwan, one in China coming up, and one in Italy, and one in Germany. But those were all virtual like this. There's no budget for sending me overseas, unfortunately.
But are you traveling around this country?
Yes, yes.
Physically
I've
traveling?
been to 11 cities, and I have LA, Atlanta, and Austin left to go.
Congratulations, and thank you for being here. This has been
Thank
great.
you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, we've taken a bunch of your time. It is so appreciated. And, I followed you on so many different things, and you're an amazing energy, hot, really. I mean, it's just, it's so great. And I'm going to make sure I link the other stuff. But the real important thing is we're going to make sure everybody gets the books in. We're going to give away some books in the drawing tonight when we finish up. And then for this tonight and for our next meeting in a month from now. But I can't thank you enough. And hurrah, hurrah. That was huge. Absolutely huge. And the book's is it living up to what you expected?
It is. I mean, I never thought I would have a New York Times bestseller. I mean, it's also a $50 book because of the
Yeah.
color printing. And
Yeah.
my publisher literally told me, if you insist on color, this book will not sell. They literally said that to me. And so I am so gratified that it's done okay, even so. So it's been, oh, thank you, Dale, and Barbara and Georgiana. Um, so, oh, she's a professional editor. Nicely done. So yeah, so it's been an unbelievable ride. The bittersweet part is that I've been covering Apple for 38 of the 50 years, and people are like, "What are you going to do for your next book?" Like, there's no next book. I mean, what are you talking? I mean, not like this. Like, what am I going to do? The history of Microsoft? Oh my God, kill me now.
Well, you can do the next 50 years of Apple.
Yeah, if I live long enough.
At 120. And thank your wife too, because man, I mean, without that thought and that dream and all that, I mean, you are a lucky man.
I am very lucky. Nikki, my wife, stood by me. It turns out she's a marathon runner, and then she had moved up to triathlons. So her big project was she wanted to run an Ironman.
Oof.
And not only that, she wanted to run the Ironman California, which is in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So all the time, my deadline for the book was October. That's when the first draft had to be at the publisher. That's also when the marathon, the Ironman was. So we both of us had this giant looming deadline in October of last year, and I spent it in Sacramento. And I was her cameraman for 14 hours. I chased her around, documenting her biking, her running, and her swimming. And Sacramento and I got to know each other really well.
Oh, that's great. What a hometown thing.
I know.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the first Iron Man was here.
Oh, is that right?
Epi's Great Race.
Epi's Great Race. Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't
it
that
was
accurate? Yeah, the first one.
I thought
It
the one in
was-
Hawaii was the oldest one.
Okay.
well, that's the old real one, but the one here was a very, very abbreviated state. It was like a 5-mile run, 10-mile bike ride, and like 3 miles on the river. So, but it was on kayaks, not swimming. Yeah. Anyway,
That's not an Iron Man. That's like an
No.
aluminum man.
Hey, the one
Oh.
here in Sacramento, they used to call it Epi's Great Race. He was a restaurant owner, and after he passed away, different people took it over, and so now it has an American name.
I competed in the running stage one time.
Did you?
We have one last question from Donna. Go right ahead, Donna. Unmute yourself.
I was going to remind everyone that Apple's miracle thing is to give the first computer away to schools. And that just set so much in motion in the education department. That was my introduction.
Oh wow, that's an amazing story. That's in the book. That Steve Jobs, there was a tax write-off for companies that donated computers to colleges, but Jobs had this bee in his bonnet about wanting to give an Apple II to every K through 12 school in the country, and he found a local representative from California to bring it to Congress, and it went all the way up to the finance committee that Bob Dole.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Walked those halls for 2 weeks. He would pigeonhole congressmen and senators And it says my connection is unstable. Oops.
No, you're okay now.
Okay, so Jobs went to Congress and spent 2 weeks buttonholing senators and congresspeople to get them to pass this Steve Jobs bill that would have made it tax deductible for companies to give computers to K through 12 schools. And so it failed in Congress, but California adopted that bill and passed it. And so Jobs gave an Apple II to every California school, 900 schools who asked for it. And as you say, that launched a lot of people into technology and into programming, into computers.
Well, I took my one computer home. I bought one too, and with my English language students started in with all of those fun programs that they used at the time. It was great.
Really? That is so cool. Well,
Yeah,
well
it
done.
was. Yeah,
I
in
bet,
84, 85, 86.
I bet they all remember you too.
Well, they remember Oregon Trail.
Oh. What was your first Apple, David?
It was the original 1984 Mac. They were selling, Apple had this program where college kids could get them half price. And I was about to graduate from Yale, and my buddies were saying, dude, snag this deal while you're still a student. And so I did. And I remember opening the box, and there was a beautiful instruction manual, and it said, begin by putting in an application. And I literally did not know what that meant. Like, that was a word that Apple made up. Application. What they meant was it was a software program, but they said insert an application. I vividly remember in my dorm room going through the styrofoam packaging, looking for this additional part, looking for whatever the application was. And so that kind of planted the bee in my bonnet about computer people don't speak English. And 7 years later, I wrote Macs for Dummies, and the rest is history.
God, that's great. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure
Thank you.
appreciate it. And man, it's hard to wind down from that. You're welcome to stick around. We're just going to do, we'll probably have our drawing here in a minute. Oh, we got some news things, but we may skip through that. But anyway, you're welcome. You're welcome to stick around, but we really, really appreciate it.
Loved hearing you speak again. We went and saw you in Sacramento. So I would respond in some things but Al's menagerie of his toys here, we'd be in divorce court if I managed to touch one of these buttons and nothing was here when he came back. So I just wanted to say thank you again. And I loved, he's been trying to rally me to be in here for these meetings forever, for 48 years that we've been together. It's like, can you just sit on one of them? All right, David, I'll listen. Yeah, I'll do this one. So so thank you again. And
that's Al's on our board. That's her husband. And he's the one that did the tribute to Bob.
That was so well done. So
yeah.
Well
done. Man. Hey,
congratulations, Mary, Bob.
Yeah.
Was it Sacramento or Davis when because he sent me information about it. David was here giving a presentation.
Sacramento.
It was.
Yeah, we saw you in Sacramento. It's like, what a nice surprise, because besides Sunday morning and the other shows we always catch you on, I was like, oh, really? You're here? Let's do this. Yes. And you were at a full house. I mean, the place was packed. It was, I was impressed.
Super
Bravo.
fun.
Good show. Bravo. Yes.
Thank you guys. Thanks to all of you for showing up. This was so much fun. And yeah, send me your receipt and I'll send you a book plate.
And I'll give you guys that link on that, so we have it. So
now Al will shoot me because I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, "Don't touch anything." Okay.
Yeah.
I won't touch.
Oh, he's got like 5 screens. He's got the control center set
don't
up
touch
there.
nothing. Okay, I won't. I'm amazed that I get on it. I'm amazed that I got myself on this. So I'm proud.
Barry, don't leave because you're eligible for the drawing.
Yay!
So.
Okay,
right,
thank you. I appreciate that. Goodbye.
Good
night.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
All the best. Stay well.
All right, everybody. I'm going to share my screen again. How
quick
awesome
announcement.
is that?
Yay.
Go ahead, Bob.
We've broken a all-time record for number of people signed in since COVID. We have 50 people signed in tonight.
I think Al is down on the bottom of the screen.
Well,
He's
that's
trying
his
to.
wife.
No, but he's on the very bottom. I see him waving right now. If you look at, oh, he's gone. Must have just been a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna get this to Bob. It's what Ed or what Al wrote, but also, I mean, he just did such a great job with that. And so, and Bob, a little irony on this, when I was saving this into my MacNexus folder, we had Al do the tribute when Karen retired from MacNexus, and it was sitting in there. And so it was written by Al, and I didn't bring it out, but I think it's really hilarious that we haven't seen that for ages, and it was pretty good. So
Yeah, it was
um,
well done.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well
So
deserved, Bob.
for an awful long time, uh, I took in the money and Karen spent it.
well, there's not a lot of rumors and stuff. I mean, the real thing is that Tim Cook will be stepping down from CEO on September 1st, but he will then be the head of the board, and that's going to be great because he's still. I mean, that's perfect for him. And John Turnus, I even talked to a guy out here that's a very long time Apple employee, and he thinks Turnus is really good, and he's a product guy. So I think there's some great things to come from that, and you can always tell because the stock did well after it, and that's always a thought. It's been in the works for a while, and the best part about it is they maintained this other guy that wanted to be CEO. But what they've done is he's the guy that designed the Apple Silicon chips, the M series, and there's talk now that Apple may even start building their own chips rather than just designing them. And they've given him some extra responsibilities, and it's good. And John Turnus is 50 or 52 years old, so it's and that's Tim Cook is 65 now, and he got appointed CEO in 15 years ago. So he was also 50. So it's been a good run. And man, what he's done for the stock and the logistics is just incredible. So that being said, I think before we go to the raffle, we're just going to go and let's do some Q&A. And if anybody has any technical questions or any other questions they want, please speak up. Go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand digitally. So, about anything going on.
Yeah.
Boy, I think I'm pretty overwhelmed by what we just saw.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. So I'll create some links to the YouTube video. He has another song that he didn't play that he did on this thing, and he's just a master. I'll tell you, we are so lucky. And
Yes.
the requirement was that just he said, well, if we can commit to buying 10 books, well, we're buying 10 books to give away as prizes, but you guys, I'll put at the end here, I'll put the barcode up when we're doing the raffle so that the QR code, so you can use that to link. Currently, they're just over $30 on Amazon. So, which is amazing for the hardcover. And then there's audiobook available and soft cover. But like I told him, I'm going to have the audiobook because that's the only way I'll read it. And I'll get the book for my coffee table. So, Georgiana, I'm sorry, go ahead and
Oh,
answer.
that's
Ask your
okay,
question.
Georgie. My
Yeah.
grandmother called me that. That's fine. Um, but most people do call me
I
George.
love your old Apple swag, man. That was cool.
Oh yeah, I know. This is yeah. I got stories. Anyway, do you want to know the total number of books we've all bought? Because like I've already bought the book. I had Barnes and Noble credits, so I've already bought the book.
No. We've satisfied his quote
Right. No, I just thought maybe just
requirement.
for our
No, I
own
think
historical
that
purposes.
would be good. So, when the blast goes out, maybe we'll ask in the blast, because I have a feeling we're going to have a pretty high level here. And as I explained, this Apple user group is Mac people, and the one out here is more just it's retirees with iPads and things. So it's a different demographic. But if anybody is interested too, he told me that they sell boxes of the book, and I believe it works out to about $27 or something if you buy 10 at a time in a box. So if you guys know of anybody, if you want them for presents, anything, just email me and let me know. And I have the link for that. I was going to do that for our group here, but it's just going to be so hard since we're not meeting in person to buy 10 books and do it. But it's dropped right now. It's just under $31 on Amazon, but you can go to the other booksellers too. And I'll provide the link to that. So, but it's $50, but what it is it was building up to Apple's 50th anniversary, which was on April 1st. So I held off asking David until he was kind of slowed down from his book tour and stuff. And gosh, man, to spend an hour and a half with us was incredible. So
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions? If anybody having any? Oh, if you get there's emails going around that are these, it's party invites, and I've gotten them from 4 different friends, and it looks like their email address and comes from them, but it's not. Don't click on it, and it's a pretty generic thing, and you think, oh yeah, they got it's RSVP for this thing. On a Mac or on an iPad or an iPhone, you don't have to worry, but just don't click on it. It's total fake, but there's a lot of them going around, and somehow they're getting in and harvesting address books. I have a friend of mine that's out here. She's in the ski club with us. She used to work for Genentech as a sales rep, and the email I got from her this afternoon, quote from her, it was to me and 450 other people. So she's been getting called a lot. She said it's one good thing because a lot of people she hasn't talked to in like 20 years are calling her and things, because it's all somehow her address book got harvested. So there's something going on, but just don't click on it. If you've got a PC, definitely don't click on it, because it can go in and harvest passwords and things like that. But anyway, so watch out for that. And of course, your cloud is full. Everybody's getting those all the time. Well, it doesn't say your iCloud is full. It says your cloud. Always just go up to the top of that email and click on the email once, and then click again and look at what the address is from. And it doesn't say apple.com. It'll be a Hotmail account or something like that. So it's not legitimate. So just be careful. And what they would do is they're trying to harvest your credit card because your stuff is full. You can always go right into iCloud on your system settings, tap your name, tap iCloud, and you can see if you're running low on space. So, all right. Any other questions? We're going to get done early here and do the raffle. So what we're doing for the raffle tonight is there's going to be eight books. Isn't that what I decided, Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, 8 books. And what we will do is we will send the winners an Amazon gift card for $35, and that's enough for you to be able to purchase the book. And it was easier than us trying to do it and then ship them to you and everything else. And you can decide to get the audiobook, or if you already have the book, just spend the card on something else. But I thought it was a good way to do it, and it spreads it out. And then we'll give a few away. I think we have 2 more we'll give away at next month's meeting, just to round it out. So any questions on that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen before I get that up, so that you can have the QR code. And so here's the screen, and I'll link this to you guys, but it's Target, Walmart, this book, Barnes and Noble, Hudson, BAM, Books A Million, and Amazon. It's on all of those, and it's Apple First 50 Years. So I'm going to put this on the screen, and I'm going to not make it be full scope. I want it not full screen. And I tried Siri earlier, so let me just do a test. Give me a random number between 1 and 250.
Anybody?
Okay, it came up and said 21. So it's not speaking it, but I'll go ahead. You guys, are you able to see it on my screen? Upper right corner?
No.
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 Okay. So anyway, so Lisa, what's our number tonight?
45.
45. Great. So because we had a few non-members too. So
Right. Yeah.
and I'll do it here. Give me a random number between 1 and 45. It is 34.
And 34 is Pat Shink.
All
Schnick,
right.
whatever. Yeah, sorry.
Congratulations.
I apologize to everybody if I mispronounced their name.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fine. Thank you. Wow. Good surprise.
Good deal. All right. Our second one. Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 13 it is.
13, Dennis Irwin.
Cool. He wins often. Good for
Yeah.
you, Dennis. He's here often. Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 28, please. And to keep this legit, Lisa has the list, so I can't see. I mean, but I'm just reading the number as it comes up here.
Oh, if only you had said that at a different time, because number 28 is me.
Congratulations.
Good.
Thank you all.
Congratulations. And I think that's our third one, right?
Correct.
Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 35.
35, Pete McDonough.
Congratulations, Pete. You can read it while you're waiting in DMV.
Thank you very much.
Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 12.
12, Dennis Cross.
Congratulations, our second Dennis. I believe that's the fifth one.
That is, yes.
Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 36.
36, Pete Belly.
Congratulations, Pete. Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 16.
16, George.
Congratulations. And I believe this next one's our last one, correct?
I already bought the book, so why don't you give that to somebody else?
Well, you can get the Amazon gift card and do whatever you want with it if you'd like.
That's okay. I don't really do Amazon.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you. So we're back in. We have 2 left now.
Correct.
Okay. Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 13. Didn't we have 13 earlier?
We had 13 already, yes.
Okay, so we'll redraw that. Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 43. That's our highest yet.
43, Roy, wait a second, Roy Chastain.
Congratulations, Roy.
Hey.
Or Ray.
Ray.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
And now
Oh,
our last one, right?
Correct.
Give me a random number between 1 and 45. 6.
Wow. At the top we have, well, and how appropriate, Bob White.
Yay.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Bob will be getting 2 Amazon gift cards later tonight or first thing in the morning. Again, that thing with Bob was great. Does anybody want to see it one more time, or while we're closing out here? Has everybody got the QR code? I will include the links in the chat. If not, I'm gonna play that one more time because I thought it was great.
It was absolutely great and well deserved, Bob.
Yeah.
Well
Well,
deserved, and
thank
Al
you.
did an incredible job. So here we go
Mhm.
again.
MacNexus has been in existence for over 40 years. It owes its longevity to a long list of selfless volunteers. Tonight, we pause not merely to recognize a name, but to honor a presence that has quietly, steadfastly shaped the soul of this community. We gather in gratitude for one of our most valued members, Mr. Bob White. Since the early 1990s, Bob has walked alongside MacNexus as both steward and sentinel. His service has not been confined to title or task, though he has carried many. Membership coordinator, triage volunteer, elections commissioner, MacNexus Facebook administrator, to name a few. At our board of directors meetings, he has been an ever reliable historian, the keeper of memory and meaning within these once physical but now virtual walls. Yet, what he has given transcends roles. He lives in the unseen architecture of continuity and the quiet assurance that someone was always there, tending the flame. There are those whose contributions are measured in moments, and there are those whose impact is woven into the fabric of time itself. Bob belongs to the latter. It is no exaggeration to say that MacNexus, as we know it, bears the imprint of his hands and the imprint of his heart. For decades, he has embodied the true spirit of volunteerism, not as an obligation, but as an offering. To serve for Bob has never been an act of duty alone, but an expression of character. Those who have known him, worked beside him, or simply benefited from his generosity understand this well. His selflessness was never performed, it was lived. And even now, as he steps away from his role as membership coordinator, effective January 1st, he does not step away from us. Instead, he continues forward, newly elected as director at large, still answering the quiet call to serve. That he does so even in the midst of personal health challenges, often joining meetings remotely from a hospital bed, speaks not loudly, but profoundly. It tells us that commitment, when rooted in purpose, does not yield easily to circumstance. And so tonight, we offer more than thanks. We offer recognition of a life of service that has strengthened us all. While no token can fully reflect the depth of our appreciation, the MacNexus Board of Directors is honored to present Bob with an Amazon gift card, a small, tangible gesture accompanying our enduring gratitude. Bob, your work has not simply supported this community, it's helped to define it. Well done.
Again, many huge thanks,
Yay.
Bob.
Yay is right.
We snuck that one in on
Isn't that
you,
nice?
Surprise.
and I'll make sure you get a link to the video too. So, all right.
Good,
That being
good.
said, let me unshare. Anything else? Any other last questions? Great job, Ari. This was fun. And
You know
boy,
what
I did
struck
myself. I'll
me?
be back. I'll be back.
good,
Yeah.
You know what
good.
struck me, Ken?
Yeah,
There's one picture there where Stanley is in the front.
I saw that. Boy, that hit me.
Everybody in that picture except me are 6 feet under.
Wow.
Well, you're still standing,
Oh yeah,
standing tall.
Maybe
He's
you're a
not
super
he's not
ager.
going anywhere. He's just, how many years have you've been membership for 20 years, 20 something years?
since 1994.
94. So, and anyway, it's wonderful. We'll get that to you. Anybody else have any other questions? And again, huge thanks to Bob and to Al for putting that together. You know, I reached out to him when Karen retired. He's such a wordsmith. It's just amazing. And then, of course, as you know, the presentation itself was just phenomenal. So, and it's too bad he couldn't make it tonight, but it was, we probably couldn't have kept it from Bob any longer. And so, and it's fully recorded. I'm going to end the live stream now too. Let's see here.